welcome to another episode of The Hammer Drops. I'm your host, Leak. So today, we are going to discuss the border bill, this so-called bipartisan border agreement for security aid to our southern borders. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about where the money's going, how much of it is actually allocated to our borders, and we're going to discuss, is any of this money actually going to Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, or anything like that? And if it is, how much money is going where? And this is the key thing right here, folks. And I'm going to tell you right now, newsflash, we already know money's going to Ukraine. We already know money's going to Israel. But I'm going to tell you how much. And how much money is going to those countries versus our country for our border protection is complete and utter bullshit. It really shows that the people that wrote this bill don't give a crap about America or Americans at all. All they care about is, playing politics. But if you go on X, you'll see all the DNC propaganda people spreading nothing but half truths, not telling you everything that's actually in the border bill, where the money's going. They're going to hit key points saying they're going to shut down the border if X amount of crossover for this many days, and they'll shut down the border. Or if it goes, no. And then they're trying to say, yeah, well, if you don't like this, then you're just truly a MAGA shithead, basically, which we all know that's not true. So I'm going to break this all down for you today. And then I'm also going to get into some numbers of the illegal migrants and with crime and how crime is going through the roof in a lot of these cities like Chicago, New York, up in South Dakota, Colorado, all of that stuff. And this is stuff that mainstream media doesn't want to tell you. But I digress. Why don't we jump right into what can we expect in this bill? Okay. So it appears that, like I said, that this is a bipartisan bill between the Republicans and Democrats in the Senate. Now, Johnson, the House Speaker, has pretty much already said that this is a joke of a bill and it's pretty much dead on arrival once it hits the House. And of course, Joe Biden, and it's funny that Joe Biden, with this being an election year, he's now wanting to actually try and do something about the border. He's saying that this new bill would essentially fix the problem at the border better than what Trump had, which some of these numbers I'm going to tell you later in the show, you'll see for yourself that we were far, far better with our border and illegal immigration underneath Trump than we are with Biden. Because let's just back this up before we just jump right in, okay? Let's talk about when Biden first came into office. One of the first things he did was kill Title 42, essentially, and opening up the borders just wide open. And Democrats pretty much announced that from day one, okay? And that's when it started. We have, since Joe Biden has taken office in 3 years, we have had over 6 million illegal migrants cross the border and coming all over the United States. They've been bussed, they've been flown. Our government doesn't even know where these fucking people are. Let's be honest. They're just wherever. And it's when you hear some of these numbers of what their allowable is, it's essentially going to still allow a shit ton of illegals to continue to come in instead of actually fixing the problem and shutting it down. Another thing that would be nice is if you want to do a border bill, okay? How about do a border bill with nothing piggyback to it? Like no more money going to other countries. Let's focus on our border and focus on our sovereignty as a nation. But that would take a government and a president to actually give a shit about its people. And you may be sent back, well, if you're a Biden supporter, please do email me at back at thehammerdrops.com and tell me why. And I would really love to get you on the show so we can talk about this. Okay, so now let's jump into some of the key points of what's in this border bill here. Okay, so it's $118 billion bill, okay? The bill would direct about, well, you know what, hold on. I'm not going to get into the money. I was about to jump into the money real quick, but I want to save that for last because I want you to listen longer. So, all right. So basically, one of the key things that the bill is going to allow is 5,000 illegal immigrants a day and gives automatic work permits to asylum recipients. Now, that's one thing that nobody's going to tell you about. So we're going to allow 5,000 per day, which will turn out to about just over 1.8 million a year. Still, we've already got 6 million in our country illegally. And now we're going to give them work visas? Yeah, come on. No. So also, we'll strip funding for the United Nations Relief and Workers Agency for Palestinian refugees after Israel accused 12 of its Palestinian employees of being involved in Hamas's October 7th attack. That the chief has told the Financial Times newspaper that Israel has yet to present evidence in support of its accusations. Now, okay, I'm all about this if it's actually true. Maybe, I don't know, get the facts and find out if it's actually true, okay, before you just automatically assume that they're guilty of something they haven't done. We don't know. So, I mean, but that's just typical stuff. So it also gives the president certain powers to be able to shut down the border as well. But if we know Biden isn't going to do that. Why would he shut down the border? It's all part of it's all part of the whole thing that they want. It's to usher in socialism, collapse the system to usher in socialism. So, not only did Johnson say that it's pretty much dead on arrival, which is great, but I mean, just some of the stuff, let's talk about the money here real quick, because I think that's a really big thing. Now, Republican Senator James Lankford, which was one of the negotiators on the bill, said that the border likely would remain closed for at least 3 weeks as the numbers of arriving immigrants drop significantly. Those numbers aren't dropping. They're still pretty well up there per day. So I don't know what this guy's talking about. So here is where $118 billion will be going. Red Sea conflicts, $2.4 billion. The Indo-Pacific, $4.8 billion. Gaza, $10 billion. Israel, $14.1 billion. Ukraine, $60.1 billion. So between Israel, Gaza, and Ukraine, that is going to account for $84 billion. So how much do you think is left for the U.S. border? Not very much. You know how much they gave to the U.S. for border security? And that's to also build the border wall and also for, I don't know, more officers down there. $20.2 billion. That is how much these politicians think that our border matters. We would rather give another $60 billion to Ukraine to secure their borders and fight in a proxy war than to protect our borders that is being overrun by illegal immigrants, migrants, whatever you want to call them. And I've said this in previous episodes, and I'll continue saying it. These migrants that are coming over if they're coming here for asylum, you would see them with families. You would see them, they would look like asylum seekers. The ones that are coming over, they do not look like asylum seekers. They're single men of fighting age, military age single men that are crossing the border. You have Chinese nationalists crossing. Again, I've said this before, and you can Google this or go to another search engine and do a search, because we all know that Google likes to hide information or delete it off the internet. So here's some other things that are also included in there. And this I'm going to take from one of the people spreading the propaganda that aren't telling the full truths or leaving out stuff. Okay. And surprisingly, he actually edited his post to include money situations, which is funny because a lot of people blasted him on this. So some other things that the bill that's in the bill, it requires the president to shut down the border, like I said, if the numbers of migrants hits a specific threshold. Now, yesterday when he had this, and after looking, it says 5,000 migrants per day, which he's not included anymore because that's how these people work. They change it continuously. And after about 4,000 is when the president can decide to shut down the border, which we already know the president isn't going to shut down the border, that it doesn't go with his narrative. So that won't happen. So it's 5,000 per day, which turns out to 1.865, something like that, million people are illegals crossing a year with this new border package. It requires those crossing the border illegally to be detained and immediately returned to Mexico, which we know that's not going to happen. It adjusts the rules for who qualifies for asylum. Would really love to have more in depth with that. I'm going to have to probably read the 340-page bill. But again, here we are. But it also expedites the process for deciding asylum claims. Funny how they expedite that process, but won't expedite other processes of people being in jail who have been there now for the last 2-3 years with, haven't even seen court once yet. But we won't talk about that here. But also gives presidential emergency authority to shut down the border when it becomes overwhelmed, which the border is overwhelmed daily. But I think the key here is the money. The $20 billion that they're going to give the United States is going to give us the $20 billion so we can protect our border. And out of that $20 billion, $4 billion is to hire new asylum officers and additional funds to provide counsel for unaccompanied children. And it's literally only given $650 million for the border wall. $650 million. But we're going to give $60 billion to Ukraine. Or I should say a total of $84 billion to Ukraine, between Ukraine, Israel, the Gaza Strip, and all of that. That's what's important. Now, let's get into some other numbers, shall we? Let's talk about how the crime rate has gone through the roof with all these illegals. Over there in New York, a group of illegal immigrants brutally attacked 2 police officers. Nobody did anything to help those police officers. What does New York do to the immigrants that attacked the police officers? You would think they would detain them, right? Put them in jail, deport them. Nope. Let them walk free. They are back on the streets in New York, flipping off cameras and thinking it's a good time. All right. No. That's not how it's supposed to be. That's not how it should be. But that's what's happening. They know they're not going to go anywhere. That's why they're in these Democrats-run cities, these asylum cities and all that shit, because they know nothing's going to happen to them. So why not commit crimes? Hell, Americans that commit crimes get slapped on the wrist, and that's it. If this stuff doesn't blow your mind on what's going on, you're not waking up and actually seeing what's happening, man, you're going to be kicked in the fucking balls here pretty quickly. Because this shit's coming to your town soon. I mean, up there in South Dakota, who would have think that in South Dakota they would have an issue? But they do. And I mentioned that on one of my previous episodes about the trafficking that's going through the Indian reservations, and there's nothing that the governor out there can do about it, because the Indian reservations are off limits, and rightfully so. So, but we listen to that, but you think these illegals are going to listen? No, they're going to go in there and do what they're doing, and that's exactly what they're doing. In Chicago, out of the hundreds of millions of dollars that Brandon Johnson found from COVID relief money and all that stuff to help house these illegals, that money that should have been earmarked for the communities that needed it the most, like the West Side and the South Side, to help build them up and give them what the fuck they need. No, let's give it to the illegals. Even though they have all that money that they put towards the illegals, what do? They're breaking into houses, abandoned houses, and occupying them. And what's going to happen then is once they start to occupy them, you think they're going to fucking leave? No, they're not going to leave. And Democrat-run cities are going to let them do what they're doing. And the people that own those buildings are pretty much fucked. And there's nothing they can do about it. Welcome to the new America that they want. So, like I was saying with some of these numbers, okay, so this is criminal non-citizen statistics, all right? The following summary of U.S. Border Patrol enforcement actions related to arrests of criminal non-citizens for fiscal years 2017 through 2024. So it's essentially pretty much all of President Trump's tenure and all of Joe Biden's tenure. So the records checks of available law enforcement databases following the apprehension of individuals may reveal a history of criminal convictions. That conviction information is recorded in a U.S. Customs and Border Protection database from which the data below is derived. And this is all information I found from the U.S. government, mind you. Arrests of individuals with criminal convictions under Trump, 21,963. Okay. Under Biden, it jumped in that time frame to 38,058. Okay, now I can almost guarantee that these numbers are skewed, being that it's coming from the government website. But so far for just 2024, and we're only just over a month into 2024, 4,247 people have been, have already had convictions. The term criminal non-citizens, I want to reiterate this, refers to individuals who have been convicted of one or more crimes, whether in the United States or abroad, prior to interdiction by the U.S. Border Patrol. It does not include convictions or for conduct that is not deemed criminal by the United States. The rest of criminal non-citizens are a subset of total apprehensions by U.S. Border Patrol. So these numbers are just, I've heard through the grapevine and doing some research to that, basically like South American prisons like Brazil and all that stuff, Venezuela, they pretty much emptied out their prisons. And all those people are coming here. The Red Cross is literally giving maps of how to get to the United States from all the way from South America, all the way through Mexico, where to avoid, everything. Like a written out plan of how to get here. Over there on TikTok, they're literally giving videos of how to do this as well. So maybe think twice about donating your money to the Red Cross, especially if they are in favor of this, because that's what your money's going to. Your money that you're donating to the Red Cross is literally going to help get more illegals, more criminals into the United States, which we've already got our own problems here. We don't need any more. Now, this is what our commander-in-chief, good old Joe Biden, has to say about if the border deal collapses.
But if the bill fails, I want to be absolutely clear about something. The American people are going to know why it failed. I'll be taking this issue to the country, and the voters are going to know that it's not just a moment. Just at the moment, we're going to secure the border and fund these other programs. Trump and the MAGA Republicans said no because they're afraid of Donald Trump.
First off, nobody is afraid of Donald Trump.
Afraid of Donald Trump. Every day between now and November, the American people are going to know that the only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump.
From now until November, people are going to realize that the only reason why our border is not secure is because of you, Joe Biden.
MAGA Republican friends. It's time for Republicans in the Congress to show a little courage, to show a little spine, to make it clear to the American people.
See, I think they're making it clear to the American people, Joe, because they're not going to sign on to this bill that is giving more of our tax dollars to foreign countries when, they're going to see that you're willing to give over $84 billion of this money to foreign countries and only $20 billion to our own to secure our borders. But it's okay to give all these other countries more money to secure their borders, right? I mean, that's essentially what I'm gathering here. Let's finish it.
That you work for them, not for anyone else. I know who I work for. I work for them.
And that's right, Joe Biden. You work for the American people, but you don't fucking show it because you don't care about the American people. None of you Democrats care about the American people. All right, that's enough about Joe Biden right there. Just hearing his voice it's like nails on a chalkboard for me. So that's essentially what is going on with the border and the crime rates and that's all across the country here. And they're not going to get better until, essentially our border gets shut the fuck down. And I'm in favor of, if you came over here with the family, fine. Then you're truly trying to seek asylum and truly trying to better your life. But if you came over here and you are a single fighting-aged military man, then I seriously think you need to be deported and out of our country. And that's just where I stand with that. So call me a racist, call me whatever you want, because I know I'm not. All about America first and protecting our sovereignty and our republic. Yes, republic, because that's what we are. We are a constitutional republic, not a democracy. And the sooner people realize and understand the difference between the two, I think the better off everybody might be. So, in closing, folks, keep up the fight. Don't, and it starts locally. The elections are coming up. Do your homework, because I'm going to tell you right now, you're not going to get the truth by watching the news. They're in on it. They're just going to tell you what they've been paid to tell you, and that's it. Do your homework. Vote for the right people. Let's get these jokers and these jackasses out. And let's, I guess I'm going to take, a little thing out of Trump's thing. Let's make America great again, because God damn it, I don't know about you, but I'm sick of spending over $300 of fucking crack to go to the grocery store because this joke of a president has literally screwed us over with this inflation. Now, on that note, if you like this episode, be sure to like it, share it, leave a comment, give me a 5-star review. It's going to help with the algorithms. You can find this on all your favorite podcast platforms. And if you think it's going to make somebody angry, share the episode with them. If there's something that you want me to go over, feel free to email me at layak@thehammerdrops.com. Let me know what you want to hear. Let me know if there's a specific topic you want me to go over. If you want to be a guest on the show, email me as well. Especially if you're a Biden supporter or a Democrat, I would really love to have you on the show for a civilized conversation about all the stuff that's going on. Until the next time, folks, be good to one another, and we'll see you guys soon.